Jim Montgomery is had some limited success recently as the Bruins head coach. Mr. Montgomery, thank you for joining us, sir.
TNR, it's an honor to be on your show.
I know it is. We're the best. Now, I am going to ask you what would seem like an ask us a question to start things off, but it's true, and I think that everyone on the station in your fan base would agree. Okay, the Bruins for the longest time were considered an organization that was cheap, and with Sinden and the Jacobs, and they were considered cheap, and now with Marchand and Pastrnak and these guys, Lindholm made comments about it. It's completely reversed itself. You're new to the organization. What is it about the Bruins, in honesty, that makes it a place where people now seek out and want to play?
Well, I guess it comes down to two things for me. It's the culture within the Bruins that, starts at the top with the Jacobs family and through Cam Neely and Don Sweeney all the way down to, the 23rd player on our roster. But when you feel like you're in a special place, because that's what you feel like when you're part of the Bruins, it makes you excited about who you work for. And the second part is the fans. Like when you're part of the original 6 Boston Bruins, we go on the road. We have more fans on the road than the home teams do in about 75% of the places. So when we're up with about 5 minutes left and it's 4-1, all you hear is "Let's go Bruins." It's pretty cool.
Now, as far as like how everything's been gelling together, and we know that with Krejci and with Patrice Bergeron obviously still being here, having Pastrnak was just that extra piece that that for the future these guys are going to be set when those two guys eventually end up leaving. How far or how long ago did you know that it was only a matter of time that Pastrnak was going to be a Bruin for the long term?
You know what? 2 nights ago. That's the first time.
Did it keep you up late at night?
I wish I would have known. I would have slept a lot better on the road trip last week.
Because that's got to be tough as a coach. When you've got to, and it's a credit also to guys like Pastrnak, but sometimes these negotiations get into the heads of the players, especially when there's something so public like this. And there's been so many false alarms that have been out there. And we know this was a negotiation that had been going back and forth for a while. How do you keep these guys' heads in the game while they're negotiating during a very important season?
Well, you know what? When you're dealing with someone like David Pastrnak, you never would have known that, this young man, the way he was playing, the way he is around his teammates and everybody, family and friends, like Winter Classic, all that stuff. You never would have known this was a young man that, was negotiating a $90 million deal.
Coach, I'm curious what it's like to coach a guy like this, because we see the outfits, the way he walks into work every day. We played some of the interviews he's done talking about listening to Barbie Girl in the locker room after a game in Lake Tahoe last year. He just seems to be a little bit different. How do you handle a guy like that?
Well, I think you just let people be themselves. And Pasta is one of the most original people I've ever been around. And he makes everybody around him smile every day.
Yeah, I mean,
all right. Yeah. Coach Montgomery, how much did the trade yesterday have to do with the injuries to Foligno and to Hall?
Well, quite significantly, First of all, I think if those injuries don't happen, we're not looking to add one more player. Mm-hmm. But the second part of it is with those injuries, we had the salary cap money to be able to go and make trades.
Yeah.
All right. So you guys have come out and said not to expect these guys, or not to expect certainly Hall back until at least the playoffs. Is there a hope that Hall could come back and be ready at some point during a playoff run?
Yeah, I think he's going to get a second opinion to see, what a different set of eyes will say about his injury. So a little too premature for me to be able to communicate intelligently about that.
What do you like about Bertuzzi? From what you know about him, how do you think?
Healthy?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
How healthy is he?
Because it has been a difficult year health-wise for him. What do you know about how he is now, and what are your expectations?
Well, we know he's healthy, and the expectations are this guy's a real hockey player that scores dirty goals in big moments.
Mm-hmm.
He's done it his entire career, and I think this is a guy that's made for the playoffs and will only be better come Stanley Cup playoff time than what he's been in a regular season in the NHL.
Where do you see him lining up with you with the team?
Yeah, well, I think he's going to start with Charlie Coyle on the third line, and we'll see from there. Whether he meshes better and has better connection with maybe different players than where we have him slotted to begin with.
So last night, obviously, an absolute ass kicking. The team looks great; they're a steamroller, but there was, of course, the unfortunate moment where Brad Marchand left the game. What do you know about Brad? How's he doing right now?
Yeah, Brad was feeling pretty good after the game. It was really precautionary that he didn't go back and play. So we're expecting him to be available to play tomorrow against Rangers.
That's really good news. That's really good news.
We made the paper.
Hey, interview
Coach
picked up.
Montgomery.
Viral.
Get us in the
Thank you.
paper.
All right.
We probably got maybe 5 people are listening now. All right.
No, I wanted to ask you about Dmitry Orlov, and sometimes a change of scenery does wonders for a player, but all of a sudden you have an offensive explosion from this guy. Did you have any idea he could do this in such a short amount of time? And B, I know you've rotated him with a lot of different defensemen since he got here. Do you have an idea of ultimately who you want to pair him with?
Well, no, he's so versatile that you can play him like we have with 4 different people in 4 games. And the fact that he's got 7 or 8 points in those 4 games is pretty remarkable because he's adjusting to a new style of play, a little bit different structure. But his instincts and his ability to compete and make plays has been very, very evident.
How I'm wondering, this is a historic team and the pace that you're on right now. And for this being, your first year as the head coach of this team, is there, first of all, what is it like being the coach of the team that just set the record for fastest to 100 points?
I guess it's something that's going to sink in more after the season. I mean, when you're going through a season, whether it's historically great like we're doing or it's a very trying season, you're really, as a coach, just immersed in the day-to-day. You're not looking at the past and you're not looking too far ahead because you got to worry about getting the team better for that next day. Now, that being said, it's been an absolute home run every day. Every day I go to work, I get to work with people that want to be great. And it's so rare that you're actually in that kind of environment where everybody's thinking about the greater good instead of themselves.
Well, what's been amazing this season is one of the stories that, many people, and from the outside looking in, I certainly would credit you directly, is what you've seen out of Jake DeBrusk this year. He has seemed to truly become the player that I think we've wanted to be and that we saw hints of for a while before you arrived. What has that relationship been like between the two of you, and how were you able to get the best out of him?
Well, I think, one, he's just at the point in his career where he was ready to be an everyday difference maker. And that's what I think a lot of Bruins fans and a lot of people within the organization and himself expected. But everybody expected a little sooner. But give him credit. He's put a lot of work in off the ice. And he's matured not only as a player, but as a person. And I think we're all benefiting from what he's actually becoming.
Now, Coach Montgomery, now that you have Bertuzzi and Marchand, are you officially the greasiest team in the NHL?
Yeah, we are, because we got Foligno, Frederick, and Hathaway to go with that.
I forgot about Hathaway. That's right.
Oh,
yeah.
Quite a crew there.
Yeah, you got some stickhold and slew footers. I understand what you're saying. gonna. But
People looking forward to playing you,
But
folks.
in all seriousness, and I'm stealing this from a guy at our station, Ryan Johnston. But you've always been skilled. The moves you've made, you feel that they've made you tougher. And how important is that when you go through these grinds, these 7-game series in the playoffs?
Well, the moves that we've made here recently, adding 3 more players that are hard and tough and enjoy making their living out competing people, has only made us deeper and better.
Have you sat down with Patrice and said, no matter how this ends, please stay at least another year?
Several times.
Don't win the cup.
Yeah, that's right. We're convinced that if you guys win, that, it might be one of those things that you see people do riding off the sunset. If you don't, then it's an extra year. So there's almost like,
Sophie's choice.
right? It's almost like a tough thing at the end of the year because no one wants to see Patrice leave. When you say that to him, is it just a stone face? Is it a smile, or is it a wink you get back?
Well, I think, first of all, we want to win the cup and take our chances convincing them to come back.
That's right. That's the plan.
That's right. All right. Well, Coach Montgomery, what do you say when a team's got 100 points at the beginning of March, but everything is going smoothly? Sweeney's obviously all in. The Pastrnak deal has got everyone very excited. Again, congratulations on all the success. There's really nothing to be critical about. So there you go. Enjoy this year. There's nothing to be critical about right now. So thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me on.